Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss a very famous poem by Sylvia Plath, that is The Barren Woman. Before discussing the poem, let's discuss briefly about the poet herself. Sylvia Plath was an American poet, novelist, and short story writer. She was born on 27 October 1932 and died on February 11, 1963. She is credited with advancing the genre of confessional poetry. So, what is this confessional poetry? Confessional poetry or confessionalism is a style of poetry that actually emerged in the United States during the late 1950s and the early 1960s. It has been described as a poetry of the personal or I, focusing on extreme moments of individual experience, the psyche, and the personal trauma, including previously and occasionally still taboo matters such as mental illness, sexuality, and suicide, often set in relation to broader social themes. Sylvia Plath is best known for her collection of poetry known as the Colossus and Other Poems, which was published in 1960, and the Ariel, which was published in 1965. She is also famous for her semi autobiographical novel that is called The Bell Jar, which was published shortly before her suicide in 1963. This poem, The Barren Woman, was published in 1965 in the Ariel collection of her poetry. So, this poem, The Barren Woman, so let's read the text first, then I'll explain it line by line. The Barren Woman. Empty, I echo to the least footfall. Museum without statues, grand with pillars, porticos, rotundas. In my courtyard, a fountain lives and sinks back into itself, non hatted and blind to the world. Marble lilies exhale their parlor like scent. I imagine myself with a great public, mother of a white Nike, and several bird eyed Apollos. Instead, the dead injure me with attentions, and nothing can happen. Blank faced and mum as a nurse. So, this poem is barely of 9 lines, having two stanzas. The first stanza has 5 lines, and the second has 4 lines. Even if it is a very short poem, but it is very much poignant because this shows both the physical and emotional barrenness of a woman. So, the major theme or the basic theme of the poem is the theme of infertility. So, it is a very famous poem by Plath which shows the excessive grief of an issueless, a childless woman. The woman compares herself, her life, to a museum. The first line itself starts with empty. I echo to the least footfall. So her life is empty, very much empty, like an empty room where even a small sound echoes, even the sound of a footstep echoes. So her life has become empty like that, and she can hear the least footfall. She compares her life herself into a museum without statues. In order to assert her melancholy, her sadness, she uses a metaphorical expression that in my courtyard, that is the next line, she says, in my courtyard a fountain lives and sinks back into itself. So, as we know that every fountain has the inclination to mingle with a river, but here the fountain in this poem cannot fulfill its wish. So, it shows the unfulfilled potential of a woman. The woman says that she is non hatted and blind to the world. She has much religious belief, but she is blind to the world because of her personal sorrow. She has no expectation from the world. She also compares herself with marble lilies. Marble lilies are beautiful flowers but the scent of these flowers are very unhealthy. So the next line says that it exhale a kind of parlor like scent. So as marble lilies generate a parlor or very unhealthy scent, it is not accepted by people. Similarly, she is also not being childless. She is not accepted by people or society. So in the next stanza, she says that I imagine myself with a great public. So here the poet expresses the notion that having children will call for a positive attention from people, from a great many public. And she imagines herself as the mother of white Nike and several bald eyed Apollos. So here Nike is the god of victory and Apollos is the god of art and poetry. So she thinks that she would be able to be accepted by society if she becomes the mother of these gods. So the description of the children here indicates that she is picturing her children as the statues that would fill her empty museum. However, these marble children will never be her reality. So she comes to consciousness and she says that instead the dead injured me with attention. So she says that instead nothing can happen, and she gets injured thinking that these are all dead children. And there is also a different connotation to this line specifically, because it seems that she might have had different to several miscarriages, because of which she is saying that the dead injured me with attentions. So nothing can happen, she cannot give birth to a child. And the last line is blank faced and mum as a nurse. So here the narrator's mind goes into a clinical setting where maybe she is receiving a treatment for her infertility, where a nurse comes whose expression has nothing, rather she is very blank, because she doesn't want to convey to the poet that the poet cannot give birth to a child. So it represents the way society as a whole views a woman having no children. So this poem entirely shows the barrenness, both, as I have already said, the barrenness, both physical, the emotional and physical barrenness of a woman. Even if she is very much accomplished, she has other potentialities, but she is always judged by the society. If she is married, she has to give birth to a child, otherwise she will not be socially accepted. So this is all about the poem Barren Woman. I hope you have understood it. Thank you very much.